I think what you're forgetting here, Jay, is that I wear briefs. So the shorts, they can be short. There's no floppage issue.
That was not what I was saying. In general, wearing shorts that small would be like embarrassing.
Joe's already embarrassing. It's fine.
What is the moose gonna be like? You look weird.
You should get bigger shorts like the basketball players wear now. Like, all right, thanks, Dudley. Have a good night.
What a loser!
That looks like my knuckle. Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Struck by Lightning. Struck by Lightning went 11 episodes with only one season on NBC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Struck by Lightning, originally airing September 19th, 1979. To get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordon. What's going on, guys?
Hey, yo.
S1E1, sponsored by delicious mountain-grown Folgers.
I was going to do the same thing. I had it in my notes.
You know what I noticed too? They ripped off the Mountain Dew mountain like text. You know, they have like the mountain in the shape of a mountain.
Did they rip off Mountain Dew?
I was going to say, yeah, Mountain Dew. Yeah, but it's like identical.
Also, Jay, quick note, there was 11 episodes, but only 3 of them aired in America.
I had that down too. Only 3 actually made it to air.
I wonder why.
All of them made it on air, I believe, in the UK, and Australia, I believe, had...
I was going to say, this felt a lot like a UK show. Like
it feels very British to me.
Was this a payback for the revolution that we won?
Yes.
That didn't make sense?
Are you... Okay. So anyways, real quick, I just want to welcome everyone back. This is week 3 of our 4th annual, unofficially named Spooky Dooky October, where for the entire month of October, we try to do shows that are all kind of within the Halloween horror sci-fi type genre. Week 3 now, we're doing Struck by Lightning, which was, again, a show that lasted 3 weeks in 1979, so I'm sure most of you had never heard of it, like we didn't. But when you click around long enough, eventually you'll find shows we can cover for this month.
I wouldn't say, to be fair, like it's a 70s show, it's surprising it lasted. But to be fair, the fact that somebody has a on-TV VHS copied version of the first episode of a TV show from 1979 is like stunning. That is crazy.
So is this what, like, getting canceled that early was not the thing back then, right? Like, I feel like
there's like 5 channels in 79.
We've done plenty of shows where, like, you know, okay, one season, like even from 60s, 70s, whatever. They always make the season though. Like you, yeah, there's nothing else on. Like, I can't believe that it was canceled after 3 episodes.
This must have done very, very poorly in the ratings.
Yeah, let's beat Mr. Robinson, which I didn't think anything would beat Mr. Robinson's 6 episodes.
And 6 episodes in 2 weeks, though. This goes 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've had another couple that like only 2 episodes aired and stuff like that. IMDb has this at a 7.2, but again, older shows like this are only really rated by people who look back and actually remember them. So those tend to be a little inflated. Also, want to remind everyone real quick, make sure you go to s1e1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to our social medias, merch, stuff like that. So buy a shirt, follow us, talk to us, say hi, recommend some shows for us to do in the future. Yeah, so with all that in mind, if you guys want to watch this show, luckily, like Joe mentioned, somebody randomly had recorded this at some point and then years later uploaded it to YouTube. So you can watch the whole episode on YouTube if you want. That's what we had to do. The quality isn't the greatest, but not the worst. Yeah, not the worst.
And the commercials help, too. We found out that Big Batch Betty Crocker cookie mix came with wet packets of flavor enhancement, which seems disgusting. So fucking bad.
And Gravy Train has more gravy.
The dog talking commercial in 1979 in Gravy Train literally is just what we do when we're being your dog talking to you, Gordon. Just like, I love the gravy in these. I'm fucking losing my mind laughing at that.
Yeah, it was a little scary when we first clicked on the episode and we saw 27 minutes and then you go, oh, okay. There's some commercials, there's a minute-long intro.
I was a little unhappy when I saw it. Yeah.
So, and I, sorry for assuming, but I will go ahead and ask: did any of you know this show existed before we covered it?
No, sir.
No.
No. Did you?
No, of course not. Like I said, I get into these, times where if I have time, I just start clicking around different articles about forgotten shows. I start going on weird IMDb like things where I'll check an actor's entire like catalog and see things that they've done and try to find shows that way sometimes. And then eventually you'll stumble upon something that you go, oh, good, we can save this for like in October or something like that.
What's crazy though is I've done that sometimes too, and you find stuff that you're like, this would be so great, and we see stuff you can't find it. Yeah, it's got very famous people in it. It's later than this when there would have been more proliferation of VCRs and things like that. It just doesn't exist. It's just a very weird thing that this exists as a sort of time capsule of horror major network television of the late 70s.
And what sucks now is like you look back and there were a lot of people that would record a bunch of stuff and have it archived that way. And then thankfully, like a lot of things you could find on YouTube, like older kind of forgotten shows that aren't really being checked by the networks. But in modern day, there's like, even though it's digital, people don't do that anymore. They don't archive and save things just the same. There's a lot of shows that aren't even that old that like I can't find like torrents or anything or streaming on sites. And it's kind of weird.
And those shows aren't for sale anymore either, which is like weirdly leaving some money on the table.
It is a weird feeling when that happens. Like just like with anything really, when you can't find what you're looking for in an age where it takes an instant to get exactly what you're trying to figure out.
There are some shows
download.
That for sure. Like I won't get into it. There's one show that we're covering next month, and I don't want to spill what we're doing just yet. It's on Hulu right now, and I cannot find it online anywhere but Hulu because, like, I need it for clips and things like that, and it is not findable anywhere. It's driving me insane,
weird.
but like, we'll get through it. We'll figure something out. But with all that in mind, might as well get into the episode itself. The intro is like clips of the show, and then all to Joe Cocker's version of "You Are So Beautiful."
Yo.
Yeah, it was so weird.
This again, though, Joe Cocker not only had one giant song on a 70s or 80s TV show, he had two. Never would have known.
Wait, Gordo, do you know what the first one is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. I'm not a musically inclined man at all. I know that one.
Wonder Years.
Oh, that's Joe Cocker. Okay. I didn't know that was him.
You could just say you didn't know who Joe Cocker was. That would have made it easier too.
Yeah, we could have just moved on.
I know who Joe Cocker is. I've heard the name.
He's Betty Cocker's husband. He made the flavor packets for those cookies.
Is that his goo?
Just to clue everyone listening in, this show, to give you a brief explanation, is this show is about a guy who goes to run a hotel. He's a distant relative of Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's monster like works at this hotel. Okay, so like not to spoil too much ahead, but this is the general synopsis of like the show. With that in mind, and knowing that that is the show, and then to start it and have "You Are So Beautiful" as the theme song with clips of the show playing was so fucking strange.
Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
What I was expecting
is
this is what, 5 years after Young Frankenstein? Right?
Yeah.
And this is clearly kind of riffing on Young Frankenstein. I would have assumed they would have done Putting on the Ritz.
Frankenstein.
And it was a whole minute of the song, and it was just
It's a whole minute of just, why is this happening? I will say, though, one effect I really liked is they show the house, and it says "struck by lightning," and then lightning strikes the logo, and then the logo changes to lightning strike logo. That was kind of fun. I was into that.
other than that, which I did enjoy too, because I'm weirdly into fonts.
Same.
The intro to me was just terrible. It was just like, what are you trying to do here?
I think the intro would have been great if it had like a jaunty, like, turns out he's Frankenstein and he has no idea.
Yeah, you know what they should have used? The outro song.
Yeah. Or, anything but a Joe Cocker melancholy song.
Listen, you can make fun of it. We're talking about it.
If your song's ever been used at a, like, bat mitzvah, communion, wedding, like, it's not a good song for, like, in a sincere way. It's not good for a TV show.
So after that, we get to the first scene. It's a rainy night. Guy Ted, the main guy in the show, he enters the Brightwater Inn, which is it's actually supposed to be in Maine.
I thought it said Bridgewater Inn.
Oh, you know what? So it says that, and then he says Brightwater in later when he answers the phone. So I went back and changed my first note, and I didn't double check again. I had Bridgewater, and then he says Brightwater on the phone later.
Okay, because there is a town in Maine called Bridgewater that is 2 hours south of Bangor. So I assumed that's what they were talking about.
So that might be it, yeah, because it takes place when he says Brightwater. So you're probably right. That's why I went back and changed my note because I listened. I was like, oh, it's Brightwater, and I fixed the top of my notes. I probably shouldn't have.
They do bring up at one point where this guy is incessantly and insufferably referencing the Celtics. It's fucking maddening. But he keeps being like, whoa, I got to get back to Boston. I'm going to get a plane. So I looked it up. Where they are is like 4.5 hours north of me. So that's an hour and a half north of Boston. Who's flying for 6 hours, though, from Maine in a storm. That's just a drive, in 1979 especially.
Well, it's a 6-hour drive. So, I mean, it's not a crazy flight.
No, it's like an hour.
Is there going to be a flight at 9 in the morning, at 9 p.m. on a...
Listen, it was the 70s. It was a simple time. They would fly from Bangor to Boston.
What is that? Oh, back in the 70s, they're just flying everywhere. It's just...
Well, to be fair, there used to be a Portland to Boston flight that would go back and forth all the time.
There's a Boston to Cape Cod flight. What's the point of that?
Yeah, it's not really a commuter one. At least the Boston to Maine one, when there's more offices, you could say it was a commuter one. Like, you could live in Maine and come in for a day if you do a day or two. That's how the 9/11 hijackers got to Boston, by the way. They flew in through Maine.
Oh, fun. Gordo, at least the Cape Cod flights from Boston are to the islands, at least.
Yeah, but aren't they also to Hyannis, too?
Well, I can only speak on behalf of, I think maybe, Cape Air does that stuff with those little
That's like
jumpers.
the wings planes like that, right?
Yeah, small ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, they have them.
But yeah, no, Joe, a 6-hour drive versus a flight for an hour, that's not that crazy to me.
That's not what I'm saying. I totally understand that. I'm saying if they're 2 hours north of a major city and 4 hours north of the next major city, where are they flying from at night in a storm? That just didn't add up to me. I mean, again, it's a geography thing, but...
Also, we don't know for sure exactly. We're assuming it's in the actual town or whatever it is. Not mentioned specifically. All we know is it's in Maine. He's coming in, and this girl, Nora, walks over to him and asks if he has a reservation. And that's when we find out that he's the grandson of the person who ran the hotel or the inn. His name's Ted Stein, and he's the new owner now. And I was trying to hear what he said his grandfather's name was, and I couldn't quite hear it. And I listened a few times.
Is it Elmer or something like that?
I couldn't catch it either.
Yeah, it was both times were not clear enough and didn't sound the same. So I'm not even going to try to entertain this.
I mean, again, this wasn't the greatest quality of audio or video either, so things were a little spotty.
Because Frank says it later. He says that idiot Elmer.
Is it? Yeah, Elmer.
And we meet the character. He's kind of a lot. You already said, with the Celtics stuff. And he's talking to Nora for the first time. And he's asking her some questions. And he used to take care of my grandfather and run the place. But whenever she would go to speak, he just keeps cutting her off. And it's he's not the most likable main character right off the bat.
No.
Not likable at all, all right?
He's made to be a wheeler dealer, city slicker type of guy, right?
But he's a high school teacher.
I'd rather be watching City Slickers, all right?
I will say this, though. I felt a little tinge of the better days when he walks in and he's just I walked into a building, lights a cigar. We were like, holy shit. Remember when that was just a fucking thing you could do? You could just light up in anybody's house or restaurant or fucking CVS. You could just smoke. People were like, razors are over there, sir.
Yeah, but that wasn't even portrayed as a good thing. He lit up the cigar, and Nora's coughing.
Yeah, he immediately got reprimanded for it.
Yeah, it's oh, is this bothering you? If it's bothering you, I'll stop. It's yeah, it's kind of bothering me. And then he's like, come on, give me a break. I only have 2 vices. Good cigars and the Boston Celtics.
I was fucking losing this guy real quick, by the way.
Yep. Am I the only one that thought he was going to ash the thing in the grandfather's ashes?
I thought that too, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Oh, actually, I didn't think of that, no. So now Nora goes and walks off to make some tea. And while Ted's standing there, he picks up his grandfather's urn. It's a giant urn thing. It's sits in the chair near the fireplace because I guess that's where he used to sit. And as soon as he picks up the urn, lightning and thunder go off in the background, and he kind of jumps and throws it back onto the chair.
I was expecting more of a housekeeping, somebody comes with a vacuum and knocks it over. A chair is not a good place for an urn.
No, but that's where he used to sit. So I guess he's just gonna remain in his comfy chair.
Well, like the Undertaker's original ornament was huge before it got turned into a chain, and then when it came back, it was when it came back, it was a really tiny urn.
Oh, you got that backwards. It started small.
It did, yeah, Joe's right. It started
and
small.
it came back giant.
Well, shit. There's egg on my face.
Well, I'll be.
I also hate that we're all such nerds. Like, actually, the Undertaker's urn. It's like, oh fuck, that was out
You're
loud.
referring to the 1991 urn.
Gray pants Undertaker, purple glove Undertaker did it differently.
Now Ted here's like knocking at the door, so he heads over and opens it, and in walks Frank. This is again, we find out later more about him, but he's a big dude with kind of a weird looking face naturally, but the idea of him being the monster.
So, did anybody else get the grandfather from Pawn Stars vibe?
The old man.
Old
no,
man
son,
about
I ain't gonna take that much money from it. I ain't gonna do it.
Like, that's
R.I.P..
what he looked like to me.
I actually thought he just kind of looks like an ugly Michael Caine.
Oh,
I can also see that, yeah.
I can also see that.
some Frankensteins just want to watch the world burn. It's like, oh, thank you, Frank.
He's in a lot of old westerns, and he was in Cannonball Run too.
Pretty much all he was in, yeah. He died in 2003, but he stopped acting in like 95.
Oh, wow.
He's in like a ton of westerns though. He's in like the Comancheros. He's in Once Upon a Time in the West with Bronson.
Yeah.
But him as the crazy doctor in the Cannonball Run movies in the Ambulance is what I know him from.
That's a movie I'm surprised has never been remade. I feel like that would print money.
Well, I guess Cannonball Run is sort of a remake of It's a Mad World, and then Rat Race is sort of a remake of both of them.
I thought they were all just remakes of Wacky Racers.
Muttley! Which in of itself is a remake of Death Race 2000.
With Sylvester Stallone.
Machine Gun Joe Viterbo? Whatever. He like can't say his lines in that movie. It's so funny. You know Frankenstein? The main character of that movie is Frankenstein. Well, there it is. We just
There it
fucking
is.
circled around
Full
that.
circle.
Full
Back to the
circle,
show.
baby!
Also, guys, it doesn't matter what we talk about in this episode. We can go as wild as we want because no one's ever going to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
No, I will say, thankfully, and thank you to all you guys who do listen. We have a nice base. We have a good base where we know.
Yeah.
There's actually more of you than we would anticipate. No matter what fucking weird show we do, we have like a nice core, and for that we thank you that you go for this ride no matter what we cover.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it. Because we get mad sometimes having to watch some of these shows.
Yeah, we don't even want to be here sometimes.
You all secondhand watch it. I feel bad for you.
I think it's fine. I mean, listen, we cover a lot of objectively bad shows, but I think that's part of the fun of it.
I will say this too, without giving away too much. I found this delightful in like a weird way. I wasn't mad about watching this.
That doesn't shock me.
From you of all, well, both of you. Anyways, to get back into the show. So Frank walks in, he's soaked, he's like smoking from the back. He thinks that
Legit smoking, though. He's not smoking a cigar. He is.
no, his back is physically smoking. So Ted thinks that this guy Frank's walking in, fucking smoking from his back and stuff, and trying to stay there the night. And he's like, "Oh no, sorry, the inn's full, no room at the inn." And he's like, "I live here. I'm the handyman." He's like, "Well, okay." He's like, "And why are you smoking?" He's like, "I was struck by lightning." He's like, "Oh my god." He goes, "Whoever says lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place is nuts. I got hit 3 times tonight."
I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but it did.
Make me think of the great outdoors.
This is where the crowd laughs make sense. There are laughs in the beginning of this episode where she's like, "I'll get some tea." The crowd's like, You're like, wait, why are you laughing?
Is a
At
simpler
least this
time.
is funny.
I'll say this. Jack Elam, who plays Frank, I find to be incredibly charming this whole episode.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, he does a great job. Yeah.
He's a great actor.
He's also like a hero. He's like a World War II vet. His eye is all fucked up because he got like stabbed in the eye with a pencil during Boy Scouts and it started like getting fucked up and drifting. Like he acted, he's like a genuine war hero. Like he just comes to this thing and he's like, the reason he did this show is because they were like, "You're ugly enough to be Frankenstein without makeup." And he was like, "Sold. I don't have to wear makeup."
It also
I'll do
helps
it.
that he's like 6'4". Like,
Yeah, he's a huge dude, yeah. Which is why he's so good in Westerns, right? He's like a super imposing looking guy too.
Yeah.
So now Ted's introducing himself to Frank, explaining that like, oh, like my grandfather used to run the place. He's like, oh, you're Ted. He's like, I've been waiting for you. We've got to talk. So Ted's obviously nervous because Frank's a very scary looking dude.
What's weird to me here too, though, real quick, is that he's like, the inn's full, which is like, there's no room at the inn, which is like a weird, odd, like, Bible thing. But secondly, he just bought this, or he's got this. It's a business. He has no idea about anything. And somebody comes in who's a paying customer, and he was like, no room here, don't want your money. Like, you don't know any of that yet.
Because he thinks this guy's a serial killer. And
Yeah, he's just scared. Yeah.
First of all, that's half of Maine. Second of all, that's owning a hotel. Serial killers come in because that's who stays at a hotel. It's families and serial killers.
I mean, there's all sorts of people who stay at hotels.
a lot of different people stay in hotels. That's a weird statement.
A lot of different people are serial killers.
Listen, I've rented to probably serial killers.
Did you ever rent to Frankenstein?
There was at one time.
Don't want to get the horror fans riled.
That gets touched on later in the episode, and I do want to kind of get into that at some point as well. But yeah, I think everyone on Earth has stayed at a hotel at some point in their life.
You guys ever stayed at a hotel?
Oh, get away from me, you serial killer.
Anyways, there's that scene where he's kind of intimidating Ted, telling him that they need to talk later, and Nora walks back in, sees Frank, like, oh, it's you. And Ted's like, hey, this guy got hit by lightning. And it's like, oh, you're always getting hit by lightning. What's the matter with you? He's like, I was fixing the roof.
It's like, imagine saying that, somebody be like, oh, you're always getting struck by lightning. It's a fucking insane statement.
Isn't that how Frankenstein becomes alive?
Lightning?
Lightning helps it, yeah. That helps because we're in a pre-electricity.
Okay. So he's just getting the juices flowing.
Yeah, but he doesn't have his neck bolts anymore, so which just hurts.
Yeah. He also didn't throw a little girl in the river.
True.
I don't think Gordo got that reference.
I'm trying to think of the movie.
That's part of the original Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, the black and white one. I have seen it.
They're throwing the flowers in the thing, watching them float, and then he throws the little girl because he doesn't understand.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that movie, so...
Him killing the girl is like the impetus for the town turning on him, yeah.
Yeah, the whole town's after him after that, but he doesn't understand what he did. But anyway, yeah, moving forward. So she runs off after kind of giving the business to the both guys. Because she had just said to Frank before she left that he's a lightning rod because he keeps getting hit and everything. He says when she leaves to Ted, you want to attach that lightning rod to her bed, be the biggest charge she ever got. And does the
This is where he gets so fun. It's all his like noises and big laughs, like all his like genuine ha-has that really get me.
That's a man who's lived hundreds of years, all right? He's developed a sense of humor.
He knows
And he goes on to tell Ted, like, I got plenty I got to tell you, but I can't tell you anything till I get back from Salem. And when he's asking him what's in Salem, he's like, cemetery, your great-grandfather. I got to get something from his tomb. His tomb? He's like, I know it's none of my business, but why? Well, and then I'm thinking, it is kind of your business. He just said he's going to steal something from your grandfather's tomb. So, kind of is.
You know a thing we don't disrupt? I'm going to go disrupt it. And it's your family member. Bye. Like, wait, what, bud?
He's like, I know it's none of my business, sir.
I mean, to be fair, I would be like that with this man as well.
And Frank's like, you'll find out. And he just starts like maniacally laughing as he heads back out into the rain.
Wasn't his grandfather cremated?
That was his grandfather, but it was his great-grandfather whose tomb he had to visit.
Okay.
But it can't be his great-great-grandfather because we find out later on that he was burnt at the stake.
Yes. So they were actually careful. Yeah, they're really careful with that lineage because they did hit the sweet spot with that line.
There were people working on this. There was like a network executive who was like, stop, nope, go back.
How many greats?
Edit.
Yeah.
Not enough greats. This guy would have been burnt too. Let's go.
Next scene, we get to Ted. He's in bed. He's just like tossing and turning. And then he hears like something in the room. And Frank's just like standing there in the corner, which...
It's on the cuck chair.
He's definitely, no, I want to hold... I think Gordon's right there. He's definitely in the cuck chair.
He's standing in the corner.
I thought he was standing. I didn't get a good enough look. I thought he was standing.
But he's in the corner where, like, if you saw a cigarette glow, he'd be, like, watching his wife have sex with somebody else.
Do it slowly.
Do it slow. Do it nice and slow.
Yes, fuck!
Orgasm bad!
Ted wakes up, and he's like, oh, I was waiting for you to wake up. I didn't want to scare you. He's like, oh, thank you. Very thoughtful. And then he's like, I heard you selling the place. You're not selling it. He's like, yes, I am. I live in Boston and I'm not moving up here.
You know, Boston, where the Celtics play. You know that team, the Celtics, the Boston Celtics? That's where I live.
Celtics are pretty big at that time.
They were?
I mean, they are again now as they are the reigning champions, but
Is 79 before Bird?
Yeah.
You know they were big before Bird, right?
I know that, but like, was it Red Auerbach? Was he the...
yeah, also a cigar smoker.
Yeah, big cigar smoker.
You guys cigar smokers?
No. I hate
God, no.
Don't like them. Even when I smoked cigarettes, I didn't like cigars.
I don't mind a good cigar.
I will say this, as a person who smoked cigarettes for far too long in their life, the problem I have with cigars is the immediate brain thing for me to be is like, take a drag.
Inhale.
Yeah, and you inhale a cigar and you're like, fuck this, I'm out. And you just never want them.
Even when you don't inhale, you get that nicotine, like, sick. It's fucking gross.
And you taste it. Even the
Forever.
next day. You wake up the next day, you still taste cigar.
Cigars are like scotch. It stays on your tongue for fucking days. It's like cigars, scotch, and Taco Bell. You will burp those three things for days after you've had them.
And I just did a quick fact check. Larry Bird was on the team. He was drafted in 1978.
Okay.
When this recorded, he was a active member of the Celtics.
We knew that because we're from Boston.
Yeah, we weren't born yet. It's not like we need to have that like ingrained in the brain, the exact year.
I was trying to think of the winning time.
The last one they won before the gap was 86.
Okay. Back when basketball players wore shorts the right size.
Well,
No, they were just too small.
They were not too small. They were perfect. I
They
have
went from
shorts that
too
size. I
small
wear
to
them every
too
night.
big. It was never just right.
That's a weird stance. I'm just gonna say, it's just a weird stance.
What, they're too big now?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think they're too big now. They would get in the way. I couldn't work out in shorts that big. I couldn't run around in shorts that big.
It's just funny because like you don't care about sports like at all, but you have an opinion on basketball short size. It's funny.
I have an opinion on everything. It's one of my worst qualities.
You've also historically worn really small pants your entire life.
That's true. And literally, I buy shorts that are the size of 1970s basketball shorts, and that's what I work out and sleep in. I even have red and green and white ones like the Celtics.
you know what the test is going to be, though? I think the real test with that is going to be, now that Joe has a daughter, as she gets a little older, there's going to be a point where Joe goes, these shorts are too short. I can't walk around the house like this anymore.
No, you got to do it more to embarrass your daughter. That's parenting 101.
I think what you're forgetting here, Jay, is that I wear briefs. So the shorts don't have... They can be short. There's no floppage issue.
That was not what I was saying. In general, wearing shorts that small would be like embarrassing.
Oh,
I don't think you have that to worry about. But
Joe's already embarrassing. It's fine.
or the embarrassing.
What is the moose gonna be like? You look weird.
You should get bigger shorts like the basketball players wear now. Like, all right, thanks, Dudley. Have a
What
good
a
night.
loser!
That looks like my knuckle.
Man, we all missed.
Did
the
you
moose
only
knuckle
get
joke
boobs for
somehow.
the podcast, or did you do another surgery?
Everyone was taking turns. I'm like, shit, I'm not going to be able to get this one out before someone else says it. So he's telling him how he can't. I mean, it's logical, too. You got to remember, like, this guy inherited this inn. The idea of just, regardless of if he's annoying about the fact that he's from Boston, the idea of, well, I inherited this inn. Might as well just move my whole life up here and live at this inn in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, he could still make money and own it.
But I mean, the idea of like, I'll just sell it. Like, I can make how much? Yeah, I'll just sell it and be done with it.
$100,000.
I can see both.
What was $100,000 in
I'll
1979?
tell you in a second.
433,000. I looked it
Oh,
up.
okay, all right.
Okay.
So I mean, still,
But property value skyrocket. You can't even go by inflation. Because if you look at like
Yeah.
what your own house was worth, like in 1979 versus now, it's crazy. It's way more than that.
just seeing the first floor of that place, it's $1 million plus right now.
Yeah. But that said, if somebody wants to buy that place and then run it as a hotel and take the risk of using it as a business where they're making money, right? Because if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's hard to like get people to come to a hotel if there's nothing in that area worth staying for, you know?
Yeah, but the girl was already running it for the grandfather. He can just go home, let her run it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
collect
business
money.
as usual. Yeah.
Come in
Yeah.
once a month, man. Check in.
I'm just saying, if you're Ted, I can understand the idea of we don't have enough of his backstory to really know what his life is like outside of this.
I know he likes the Celtics.
Yeah, if he's living comfortably and he's just like, hey, I inherited this thing, I can just sell it and get a quick payday and just go about my business. Like, that's
Hey.
not the worst.
Hey, he's a high school teacher. He can't be making that much money. He wants the quick payday, and he's set.
That's right. He's a science teacher.
But again, the quick payday, you were saying inflation is probably closer to like $800,000, right? Like someone was like, hey, this thing you didn't even know about tomorrow could be still something you don't know about, but you'll get 800 grand. You'll be like, see you later, alligator. I totally get that.
What year was this again?
1979.
So I wonder what a teacher in 1979
In Boston.
was making about 16 grand.
In this area?
And well, this is just
That's
like
a national average.
national
but
average.
And they're not making too much more from that now.
So it's sad but true, yeah. But so you're talking 10 years salary almost. Well, about 7, 8 years salary for a one-time thing. So
and no work. It's just in your bank account.
Yeah, just done.
we also would have to consider, what is this place generating on a monthly basis, and would it be worth it to keep it? So I think there's a lot of financial ins and outs of this that we're not thinking about because we're not supposed to.
Sure, but also housing was like buying a nice house back then was probably like 50 grand.
What part of Boston do you think this guy lived in?
Oh, I'm gonna say
Medford.
I was gonna say like where Cambridge gets shitty.
he's Everett.
Yeah, I could
He's a
see like
Southie guy.
Somerville.
He's Everett where the casino is now, but like you remember before the casino when it was like Route 60 and the gas station we paid all those lines that time.
I could also see him on the South Shore.
I can see him South Shore, but again, not too south. I can see him in like
just through the
Quincy?
tunnel. Yeah, Quincy. This guy's from Quincy for sure.
I live in fucking Braintree. Like that makes sense to me completely.
Milton.
I bet our fans love all this Boston talk.
I would say they would, and then when you go through our numbers and you realize that our local home base listeners is so low.
It's lower than any other state. Yeah.
Well, anyways, he's telling Frank, that is, I just got back from Salem. I went to your great grandfather's tomb. He's like, you don't know who you really are, do you? He's like, sure I do. He's like, no, you don't. He's like, okay, who am I? He goes, say your name and my name together. He's like, what? He's like, just say it. He goes, okay.
This was painful.
Frank Ted. I thought Frank Ted was funny. But
I laughed at Frank Ted.
Yeah.
yeah, this made no sense. But yeah, he's like, no. He's like, my first name and your last name. He's like, Frank Stein. What does that mean? He's like, nothing. That's my fault. So I really liked Frank throughout the scene. He's like, put an N in the middle. He's like, Frank N. Stein. Like, faster. He's like, Frankenstein. He's like, there you are. Like,
There's a guy. There's a guy in the audience when they finally say Frankenstein. He goes, "Oh!" And I was like, "Wait, you didn't get it until now? You had to hear
He
it."
watches this episode like, oh, that's what it's about. Oh, it's a profit deal. I get it.
I hope it wasn't even an audience member. It was just somebody working on the show. He's like, oh.
I'd like to think that it was Scott Steiner's parents, and they were like, I just thought of the greatest finishing move that you can do.
Yeah, the Steiner recliner.
So this is like the whole thing where he's like, you're a Frankenstein. You're from the actual Frankenstein family. He's like, no. He's like, my name's just Stein. He's like, it's not. And he's trying to explain, like, wouldn't my dad have told me if this is like my lineage? He's like, why would he tell you that? Like, he's like, I can't be a Frankenstein. You're the one that looks like Frankenstein. He's like, don't you know anything? He's like, your great grandfather was Dr. Frankenstein. He's the one who made me. I'm the monster. And then to go into the whole, like, obviously through history, everyone mistakenly calls Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein. Everyone forgets that that's the doctor. However, why is this guy's name Frank?
Oh, Frank Frankenstein? Of the Maine Frankensteins? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Because he got sick of being just called the monster, all right? And he wanted a tribute to his daddy.
Yeah, I would just say maybe anything else.
Yeah, he could be Gregenstein.
But I feel like that was going to be a little confusing to people. When he's doing the whole, don't you know anything about the, like to tell him, like, the whole Frankenstein is the doctor. And then it's like, but my name is Frank, by the way. So, just to...
Unrelated.
Yeah, completely unrelated. My name is Frank.
We've started to get a bunch of all of our, like, Halloween stuff out, and obviously buying more every year. Ferg, I know you can appreciate this.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at the Michaels the other day with our daughter, and they have all these, like, rubber ducky tub toys, and they had a Frankenstein's monster one. And, like, of course I bought it. and immediately named it Dr. Frank. Like, it's just so hard to not just be like, that's it's right there.
Home Depot actually put out a life-size Frankenstein this year, and it doesn't fit with any of my decor, or I would have bought it. It's awesome.
You could put him on a cuck chair.
Too big.
Ferg, where's the Frankenstein's monster? Like, it's in the chair in the corner of my room smoking a cigarette. It has to do that. It's going to light up cigarette. The arm just goes up every 3 minutes. Takes a drag.
It can. It's afraid of fire.
It's tough, yeah. How do you be a cuck Frankenstein's monster and smoke a cigarette when you're afraid of fire? These are the hard-hitting questions people listen to our podcast to find the answers for.
Here's the thing that confused me about the show also. And again, I understand that shows like this are not meant to be deep dived, but in a world where Frankenstein's monster is real and everyone knows of Dr. Frankenstein and stuff, no one knows who this guy is.
Well, no, because they think the monster died in the windmill fire.
Oh, I mean, that's
If
true.
that movie is canon, or
It's got to be.
In this episode, the kid has a movie accurate Frankenstein mask.
that's
That
true.
is
That's
true.
true.
Yeah.
It's just confusing because he references like how he's depicted on TV, but talks about how in real life he used to get chased with torches and shit. So it's like, so if you used to get chased with torches, people knew that you were in fact Frankenstein's monster. So now years passed and people just kind of forgot you just kind of were hiding out, and now you can work at this inn and no one seems to notice.
He outlived him.
Yeah, that. It's not like they could take his picture.
Or maybe Dr.
Well,
Frankenstein
all right.
kept working and improved him, changed the way he looked, added new body parts.
Yeah, the serum got better.
Not only that, but people die out, and maybe he hid out at a small inn in Maine. Who lives in Maine?
Joe, have you ever seen Frankenstein in Maine? I'm sorry, Frankenstein's monster in Maine.
He's smoking a cigarette in my bedroom as we speak. I'll talk to him after the episode and see if he can pop on for us.
I will say, as of this recording, this will be weeks later, but this past weekend, me and Gordo did venture up north and visited Joe.
We did.
There is a place, but 3 minutes from Joe's house, where you can get camel jerky.
Oh yeah, how was it?
It's fine. They're all similar. There's like beef mixed in, but they had like elk and venison and all that stuff.
Did they have horse? Because camel is like a horse.
I did not see horse. Not seahorse. I did not visualize with my eyes.
Jay ate the ground seahorse, and now he's going to be horny as shit for the next 2 weeks.
Is that what that does to you?
Yeah. Ground seahorse is like one of those things they would like feed to like soldiers and stuff like that. It's supposed to make you like.
Yeah, remember Andy ate it at Gabe's party.
He never watched
Threw
The
up
Office.
everywhere. Yeah.
I didn't watch The Office.
You got to fix that, bud.
No.
That's a weird stance to take.
I've seen a handful of episodes.
This show that
it's
the
okay.
world loves. I'm not going to watch it just because.
I mean, it's a Gordo stance to take. It's actually more of a me stance to take, actually. I don't know why you're doing that. Yeah, you should give it a shot.
I have. It was okay.
I don't believe you.
I have. I've seen the Mussolini, like, dictator speech episode.
If you watch that one and you're not into it, then you're not into it. That's a good one to be like. Engaged.
No, I don't think that's like the most funny. I mean, it's like funny for weird. It's funny, and you would love that episode, but that's not the first one I would point out to somebody.
All right, Gordo, will you watch one episode for me?
Sure.
All right, watch Scott's Tots. I guarantee you'll be a fan after that.
I would love to see your thoughts after that episode, yeah, or hear your thoughts.
Text me what season, what episode.
Why would you pick that episode?
Why would you ruin my joke?
Well, I want him to get into it. I don't want
Maybe
to
we
deter
can
him.
maybe we can do a group watch on here one day, and we'll just pop it on, and we'll all watch it together.
That'd be fun.
But to get back into this, we still have a good amount to cover, so I don't want to get too far away. He's gonna now prove to Ted that he is indeed Frankenstein's monster, and he picks up like a piece, something looks like some sort of a tool from like the fireplace set.
This was hard to visualize what it actually was because of the grainy quality. Where I was like, "Is it a golf club? Is it?"
Yeah, it was a fire poker.
Yeah, it was something for the fireplace, and he just like he twists and bends it. So, and that's supposed to be like solid metal. So now we know he has like this inhumane level of strength. And then he's like, "No, that's just a trick." And he's like, "Ah, all right, maybe this is gonna convince you. I hate doing this. It's so demeaning." And then he does like the arms out and goes like, "Argh!"
I laughed so hard at this.
I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my issues with this show is I wish they leaned into him being Frankenstein's monster a little more. Like, not all the times, like, he was civilized, but things would make him snap. Like, there's a part later when they light the fire and he gets scared. I wish they really leaned into that with, like, certain things, like it would click on and off. And that would, I would think the show would have been a lot funnier.
Yeah, like, that was one of my issues with the show is, like, he's Frankenstein's monster, but that's just kind of like, oh, you don't say. He doesn't look or act anything like Frankenstein, so it's just kind of, we're just going by name.
Maybe it does, but it only got 3 episodes, so we don't know.
I might have taken a twist. And that closes out the scene, because, like, when he does the thing, like, lightning strikes and the windows crash and all that shit.
Plaster comes in from the ceiling.
The next scene, we see Nora, and she's walking to the front desk area with the man named Walt, who was, like, the real estate guy put in charge of the sale for this place.
He's one of those, like, character actors, too. If you see him, you're like, oh, I've seen him in a million things. He's in, like, 9 to 5. He's in the Billy Jack movies. He pops up a lot. He has the same look as the dad for the Bill and Ted movies. Like, I immediately was like, wait a minute, is that who I think that is? But it's not him. But they're very similar looking character.
The guy that plays Abraham Lincoln?
No. The guy who plays like a Napoleon. I don't think it's going to work. The dad who's married to Missy.
Oh, okay.
He reminds me of, Mom.
This guy's just kind of like going on about like to Nora, I can't believe they're selling the place. Like, hey, I can't not take the posting. It's like a great listing, but like it should have went to you. You've been running the place and all this shit. And she's like, I know. And he's going on about it. But like it's weird because I still like the vibe of the character is still that of a sleazeball, even though he's like being nice to her.
Yeah, he wants the bang.
I mean, that's true too. Nora seems to be single, as what we've heard about her ex-husband, but he's being the character of a guy who's a friend, but commission comes above all else, though, right? Like, that's his whole deal. So if he's going to sell us for $100,000, he's probably getting 10% commission. He's going to make $10,000 off this sale, which at that time would be $40,000.
Which is probably about what real estate agents make.
Yeah.
Also, she's got no right to be mad. He's selling the house. Even if he doesn't sell it, doesn't mean she owns it.
Yeah.
You can work for a long time at a place, and then if like the owner dies and it gets sold, you can't just be mad that like, well, I would have liked to have been given it to me. Like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, just 'cause it's a mom and pop place. Like, yeah, the guy's still entitled to like give it to his family. It's like if you were like the store manager at a Walmart for 20 years and they closed the store, you wouldn't be like, wait a minute.
I thought I was going to own this Walmart. Yeah.
No, I went to Greg Walmart.
Can't trust Greg.
But they do mention how he does say you should have been given it.
Are we to believe that maybe she was sleeping with?
I don't get that vibe. Not with Grandpa.
No.
To have the expectation that it'd be given to you feels to me more familial.
I think it's a different time in that you would.
I just think it's a super small town and they all know each other. They're like, oh, should have went to you, Nora. Just because, like, you know, they all know each other so well and they know how hard she works. So
Yeah, she ran the place and took care of him.
Sure. That she should have gotten money. Like, hey, and I bequeath you $20,000.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You change my diapers, my poopy diapers, you get $20,000. Boom.
All right, I spent all my money on this fancy urn.
This urn cost $80,000. Don't move it from my chair.
When the guy was talking about how he had to take the listing, he's like, it's not my fault I'm the top real estate broker in this town. And then the guy, Glenn, is like, you're the only real estate broker in the town. That's Bill Erwin. He's in a ton of shit. He was one of the guys. The thing I would know him from, or maybe all of you would remember the scene in Home Alone when the mom's trying to get back and she's trying to like buy the tickets from the people because the flight's full, and it's like the old guy's like,
oh, she's full of earrings, big dangly ones.
Yeah, that's that guy.
Oh shit.
It's one of those things too where this is 15 years before, or like, I don't know, 11 years, 12 years before that, and he looks older in this somehow than he does in Home Alone.
I was looking up Bill Erwin, by the way, passed in 2010. I just want to see if you guys could guess. Now, not in the pilots, but he's appeared in many, many, many shows.
Oh, Seinfeld's the big one.
So how many shows that we've covered has he been in? If you were to take a ballpark guess.
7.
I'd say 7.
That we've covered, we've done.
Including this one.
I'll go at an even 10.
I went with 8.
I went with 7.
I said 7 as well.
All under 13.
Wow.
shows. He has been in Struck by Lightning, Punky Brewster, Who's the Boss, Married with Children, Growing Pains, Full House, Golden Girls, Seinfeld, Living Single, Grace Under Fire, Mad About You, King of Queens, and My Name is Earl, which was his last acting credit.
Jesus. His last one, huh? Good for him, man. What a run.
And I'll say this also, if you guys independently, when you have time, check Bill Erwin's IMDb. There's at least 20 more shows that he's been on that we could cover. Like, we could fill the rest of the year with, or next year with Bill Erwin shows. That he's a one episode type of guy. He's not like a guy who's ever like a big role in anything. But
his Seinfeld episode is great. It's the one where they have to like adopt old people, and Elaine gets the girl with the goiter.
He was inducted into the International Clown Hall of Fame in
Wow.
1999.
Wow. Well, boys, we have something to shoot for.
Now, do they ever say who Glenn is to everyone?
no, I was super confused by that. I don't know who Glenn is in the show. It's never explained.
Okay.
I thought he was the husband.
No, he's just like a busybody who lives there.
I got the vibe that he's either like a regular or like, I guess could potentially be like Nora's dad.
It feels like he maybe has like a long-term housing type of lease at the hotel.
He like wants to help with the chores and stuff at one
Yeah.
point.
But there's like a running bit that seems to be like no one wants to be around him.
Smells funny.
Also in the mid-90s, he did have a good run as the Goon in WWF.
Yes. Close.
Bet you that's why nobody wanted to be around him. He was gooning.
Well, no one likes a hockey player.
Oh, neat. He was also in the Dennis the Menace movie.
One of those guys who just did so much for so long. It's great to be like an old guy young because you're like, I will just work fucking forever.
Most of his credits are just like guy in this, man in this.
Yeah, man on plane. He's the guy on the plane in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles who's next to Steve Martin when he's bummed out and all like squished in.
As those two are talking, they cut downstairs now and like we find out that the basement is like a laboratory type situation. And we see Frank and Stein and they're looking over some things together. And he's like, oh, this is like amazing. He's looking at like books. He's like, I look just like my great grandfather. It doesn't say much about him here. Like, what happened to him? He's like, oh, nothing unusual. He died a natural death. They burned him at the stake. Like, that's a natural death? He's like, if it is, if your name's Frankenstein.
That's fair.
And fire's natural.
They're being tied to a gasoline-soaked stake. Probably not as much natural, though.
I don't think they had gasoline back then.
Well, they had some sort of a flammable agent, right?
He's like, oh, wow, I guess, like, I really am a Frankenstein. He's like, I have so much work to do. He's like, oh, I got to change my driver's license, my credit card. Like, that's where his brain's going.
To be fair, though, that's like the annoying busy work you have to do that, like, nothing is more aggravating when they're like, your debit card could have been compromised. We're sending you a new one. And you just spend fucking an hour going through everything your debit card could be on.
I just let it go until suddenly I said, "Get your payment didn't go through." I go, "Okay, that was when my debit card was."
I wish I had that brain power. I can't do it. I'm just like, I will spend 4 hours finding everything I could after update.
Worst part is even, like, not even compromised, just, like, when your credit card expires.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even that, like, you have to update everything. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, even when it's the same number, because, like, the expiration date changes. So anything you have it stored in, you have to, like, update all these things. And you don't realize how many things you have, like, your credit card attached to until it's something stupid like there's some random parking app. And you're like, oh, good, I have my info. Like, I got to fucking update it. And it's as you, like, on your 2-hour timer. And it's, like, the worst timing, like, to do that shit.
It's so stupid, too. There's no reason at all for an expiration date. Like, why does it have to expire?
I mean, I think it's good to like change things up every once in a while because it's one level of security.
Change is never good, I'm telling you.
I agree in some ways, but in credit cards, I disagree.
I've been wearing these underwear since middle school.
I used Apple Pay. I learned how to use Apple Pay this week. That was a
Life
new thing for
changer,
me.
huh?
Good
Wow.
for you, dude.
It was a life changer. My wife was like, "You don't know how to use this?" And I was like, "I'm trying to pay for something, and they don't take PayPal, but they take Apple Pay." And she was like, "Let me hold your hand and tell you how to do this, you almost 40-year-old idiot."
Yeah, and then you just connect your PayPal to that, and then everything's fine.
Do you have it on your phone now?
Yeah, it's on my phone.
Now you got to get an Apple Watch.
Yeah, I have the app. I have a Fitbit. I guess I was gonna upgrade to an Apple Watch, but the Apple Watch, I feel like it's gonna turn into a Dick Tracy scenario. Like, I don't want someone calling me on my phone, on my watch. It's weird to me.
Little face.
Yeah, like a little face, and I'm like peeing. Like, this is so weird. Don't look. Don't look. I didn't expect it. I didn't. Yes.
Fuck making a human out of like all different body parts. The idea of being able to tap your phone now and pay for shit is like that's
Do it. Yes, I don't typically do it because I always have my wallet on me, but I forgot my wallet yesterday.
I don't do it.
And I was like, shit. And I was like, oh, I can just tap my phone.
That's how I've had it.
I don't want to tap my phone and then enter my PIN.
Yeah.
I just used my fingerprint. What more do you need from me?
I'm tapping my phone to bypass all the stuff. This is supposed to be like the one stop.
I'm not going to complain about having that technology dropped in our lap and having to write like 4 numbers into my phone. Like, I don't know. I think that's
What
a
4
reasonable
numbers, Joe?
In this...
Like, I'm not going to say it, but you can guess what my 4 numbers are, I'm sure, immediately.
6669? That's Gordo's. It's definitely Gordo's.
No, Gordo's 6969.
It's not.
I was blown away by the fact that you can tap your card to get on the tee now.
Oh, wow,
like
really?
You don't need a pass anymore. You just tap your debit card and it takes
like the rest of the world.
What is a one trip on the tee cost now? It was like $250.
It's like $235, I think.
Around that, yeah.
It evens off because of how many times we snuck onto it and got free.
Yeah, but we were doing that when it was 85 cents.
Also, there's still ways to sneak on, by the way. As somebody who had to take the tee for many years straight, there's little doors that get
the
left
closest
open.
T station to where we live, like 90% of the time, the gates open.
Right, you just
Walk
walk
in.
in.
Yep.
One thing I thought was kind of interesting was this is when we find out that nobody knows who Frank is, the fact that he is Frankenstein's monster. And again, it was like, I know we talked about it earlier in the idea of him like possibly aging out like from all the other people, but I just don't know how something like that could slip through the cracks and everyone forgets.
I think if he was like, hey, everybody, I'm Frankenstein and monster, and everyone would just laugh and think he's crazy because they already think he's crazy because who's going to believe that?
But again, it's the everybody dies and you don't scenario, right? Think of the end of the Green Mile when he's like talking to that girl he's like into and he's like, you'll die too and I'll keep going. And it's like all depressing. That's Frankenstein's life.
But at this point, it's been multiple generations. So I bet you people think it's just a story. It's just a movie. It's just anyone that knew that he was real is dead. So if he came out and said, hey, I'm Frankenstein's monster, they would just lock him up in the loony bin.
And then he'd die in 50 years.
Well, that's what we're finding out now is that the reason that he needs Ted is Ted has to help make a serum that like is needed for him to stay alive. And I guess, yeah, every 50 years he needs a boost.
You think it's goo?
I once knew a boy named Goo. He came to me.
Goo punch.
He needs Goo punch. If Frankenstein gets a cool Dr. Money haircut, he can live for another 50 years.
I hate you, Daddy.
This version of Frankenstein, though, or Frankenstein's monster, Frank, is a very well articulated like man. You know, like I don't get why he needs like he couldn't figure out how to do this over all these years to like make the
Because
serum
then you
himself.
wouldn't have a shitty TV show about it.
He's also not a scientist.
Yeah, like that's different, right? Like serums and
But
potions.
neither is
and...
Ted.
But he's got the scientist gene.
And it's in his genes, yeah, right?
That's
right down
why
to his
it's
plums.
goo.
It's not goo, Gordo. I mean, I guess it's in his goo. I guess it is in his goo. I hate that, but I think you're right. His kid would have the scientist gene too.
It's technically his goo.
Does it come out of his Frankenpeen?
They also use that as the excuse as to why his eye is wacky. So even though he just naturally has like a weird eye, he's like, see what happens when you go a little too long? He's like, my eye's poking out. He's like, if I go a few more years, I'm going to look like a catfish.
I thought this was funny.
That happens also too if you screw Bret Hart out of the championship title.
Hey, that was Kane that did that to him.
You say, Brad, that's Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but Kane is the one that made Shawn Michaels eye lazy.
All right, but didn't he say Bret Hart?
Yeah, I was making a joke about Shawn Michaels.
Oh, okay. Sorry for killing the joke. Cut that right out.
Okay, all my jokes are getting killed tonight.
Yeah, a lot of wrestling talk in this episode too. Again, this is a freeform episode. We're just kind of going with it because this is going to be what it's going to be.
So Frank's telling Ted about how he needs to help him, create this formula so he can, survive another 50 years or whatever it is. Also, you would think they would just make a ton of it, so this wouldn't happen to him every 50 years or so. He should just have like a crazy supply.
Like make a bunch of bottles of it, maybe.
Maybe it's made with fruit and fruit goes bad.
Perhaps.
Well, then you freeze it. You freeze it into little cubes. And every 50 years, you get a new cube out, and you thought.
Well, you got to remember this is 79, so if we went back to 1929.
Root cellars. They're in Maine. It's pretty cold up north.
Also true. Ted's like, all right, where's the formula? He's like, your grandfather ate it. He's like, he ate it? He's like, yeah, I tried to get it out of his stomach, but like when I reached down there, the crowd was like really getting into that. And he was talking about the idea of going down the corpse's mouth.
Did you say mouth, or do you think that I kind of got like he ripped his stomach open?
Oh, I thought he was like,
no, he like mimicked reaching down his throat.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was the twist, is that he killed the grandfather. He ate it and he tried to get it back and ripped him open.
Should have went up the poop chute, pulled it down that way.
Oh, then you got like miles of intestine to get through.
Yeah, I don't think you know anatomy.
I don't think he was going for finesse.
Maybe he's got sharp fingernails. He cut right through. Maybe he's got a Freddy Krueger glove.
Maybe he didn't want to go near those anal taste buds you talked about.
So Ted's telling Frank, like, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, I'm not a scientist. He's like, you are a scientist. He's like, no, I'm not. I teach science. I'm a high school teacher. And it's like, you mean my life is in the hands of a high school teacher?
Waka, 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 waka. To be fair, our high school science teacher fucking hated me, and I learned nothing in that class.
You have to tell me which one later, because I can't remember any science.
It's the only
teacher.
class I ever got an A in.
I did very well in our science classes.
He literally the whole time for 2 years didn't call me my last name. He just called me Satan. That was his nickname for me. And our friend Jimmy, who was in our class, I would get him riled up, so he'd start laughing, and he'd get kicked out too, and he almost failed because he'd just get kicked out with me all the time.
Did it rhyme with baloney?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I was thinking too.
All right. I know why he hated you.
Me and Ferg used to be in chemistry class together. So we were the only two sophomores, and it was all juniors. Or was it freshman year? No, it was sophomore year.
It was, chemistry.
Yeah, we're the two youngest people in the class, and then Ferg gets kicked out of the class because he was deemed too stupid. So now I'm the only person in the grade in this class.
The real reason I got kicked out of the class is because we went to the Patriots parade and that asshole teacher ran a fucking lab that day and made it really important.
So I was going to bring this up. So when the Patriots won their first Super Bowl, nearly the entire school cut school. Like basically all of us with the blessing of our parents were allowed to not go to school to go to the parade. This was the first parade like in our lifetimes, before all the local teams started winning a lot. And our science teacher was incredibly upset about it, apparently, and had a full lab with like a quiz, and then made us all responsible for the makeup work the next day, as if anyone was calling around. One person from our whole class went to school that day, like in that particular class.
So why wasn't Jay kicked out of the class?
I don't know.
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always got by on high test scores. I never did homework, as you guys knew, but I was able to slide by with good tests.
All I know is I got put in a very special class after that, where he had us draw and build robots.
Today for science class, we're going to play with slime.
Now, Ferg, here's your circular piece of paper and your safety scissors. Enjoy yourself for the next
Ferg
hour.
went, so I made blue.
That's green.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a podcast host. Like, okay, honey, whatever you say.
So now Ted's like, he feels like he's very over his head in this whole situation. He's like, this is it. Like, I'm selling the place. I'm leaving tomorrow. He's like, you can't leave tomorrow. Like, what do you mean I can't? He's like, the Celtics are playing the Knicks Friday night.
Fucking get over it. I don't understand. The Celtics have points in this episode. Like, why was it brought up so many times?
There are people like that, in all fairness, in this.
And this was a popular time for the Celtics.
Sure, but like he said it 4 times in an episode. That's too many times for a 22-minute show.
I'll give you that, Joe. There is something to be said about the fact that you don't like sports and how it's obviously going to hit you differently.
Okay, so just for reference, Joe, we were talking about Kevin Can Fuck Himself today, Boston area based. They referenced Tom Brady like 20 times in that episode.
But that entire show is a satire. That's different.
I don't know. You don't know what satire is. None of you do?
Thank you, Ferg. In Kevin Can Fuck Himself, they're making that character unlikable by him constantly mentioning it.
True.
I don't think they made this character look like he's the most likable either, though.
Also true. And again,
but you don't like him because he likes the Celtics. I don't like him because he's willing to let Frank die. I'm like, you selfish asshole.
Yeah. There's no good reason. He's just like, no, I don't care if you die. Like, it's just so dumb to me.
Think of it this way too. If somebody randomly you didn't know walked up to you in the street and said, "If you don't help me with something, I'll die," you would help them.
Exactly.
And if it turned out they were friends of your grandfather, you'd be like, "I'll double help you. You were Papa's friend. Like, of course I'm gonna help you." Like, it makes no sense. This guy's such a shithead.
This choice makes him an irredeemable prick at this point.
100%. That's why I said earlier, I'm like, no, he sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I fucking hate that. And I put up with him up until this point. And at this point, I was like, no.
Frank was like, if you don't stay, I'll die. But then goes with but also, if you don't stay, you'll die.
A very convincing argument.
That wasn't enough to shake him. He's like, don't try to scare me. I'm leaving. And like, Frank does almost like tantrum style, like, no, you're not. And he like slams his arms and breaks the big table.
His reaction to breaking the table, though, is actually funny.
Yeah. I mean, the prop stuff they do where he breaks the table or he puts his hands through the door
The door's awesome.
are all very funny.
And then we have Ted in a little later on, and he's like in his coat and he's at the front lobby area on the phone. And he's telling his buddy on the phone, like, listen, pick me up at the airport. I'm not waiting for the bus. I'm getting out of here tonight. He's like, the inn's up for sale. I can't handle it. Like, I'm heading to Boston. I'll talk to you later. And as he's on the phone, you see the knocking. It's Frank going, Ted, I know you're in there. Open up. And Ted was like about to try to escape like through the window, but he throws his like bag down and then looks over and sees Frank punching his fist through the door. And that's like the gag you get when he walks in and the door's like still attached as his fists are like both through the door itself.
I don't understand why he threw his bag out the window. He had just got there, so it would have been understandable if he had a suitcase in his room.
Even if he'd been there a week, he doesn't live there. He's going to have a suitcase he's living in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would have been understandable.
Yeah.
I thought he threw it out because he was going out behind it. And he just never did. He didn't jump out the window, too.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the thing, too, was that he was going to crawl out and make an exit.
And when he finally gets through, it's like hi, Frank. He goes, dinner's ready. And he still has like the door in his arms. And we cut to downstairs and we see Ted talking with Glenn and Nora. He's now telling them like this whole thing where he's not going to leave. He's like, oh yeah, I was talking to Frank. He's like, who needs Boston, the nightlife, the Celtics? You know, I'm bored with it. He's like, ditching all that stuff. Now it's hiking, fishing, dirt, all that good stuff.
Yeah, because there's nothing in Maine.
But it's weird. You know what's weird is the idea of like things like that are popular for us on vacations, but there's no desire for me to do that in my real life. So I don't know why when I'm in my leisure time and can do whatever I want, I'm choosing to do activities I would have no interest in doing otherwise.
I mean, I'm not a fisher by any means. I'm allergic to fish, so it seems just cruel to shove hooks in fish and then be like, see you later, baiter. But I don't know, hiking and stuff, and I don't dirt. Like, dirt is, I don't know, you have a yard, you dig in your dirt, you plant things. Like, I don't know, it's not a weird thing. Or you hire people to do it because you don't know how to do it. Either way.
Bold of you to assume I have a yard to dig in.
Gordo, I just sent you a 40-foot chicken, Mrs. Claus, for your front yard. Where are you going to put it?
I'll have to put it in the vestibule.
That's going to be living in his living room for the next couple months.
It's going to cave in on your little wall there during an episode.
If that ever fell and a chicken fell on him, what the fuck? I would die.
My fucking ankle.
No, I just want the shimmer chicken.
And we found out that I don't have to go get it for you. You can order it online.
But it's better if you get it for me.
I fail to see how.
It'll get delivered directly to your house.
So now while Ted's going on this whole thing about like how he's so excited to, you know, stay all of a sudden, doesn't really have like a great reason why. But like, oh, well, it's exciting. You know, we're going to be able to work together now. What made you change your mind? Like, oh, you know, a lot of things. Actually, one big thing, referring to Frank, of course. Now, this is like, goes back to the thing I said earlier with Glenn, where he's like, Frank's going to like do chores. And he's like, oh, I'll go with you and do chores. I have nothing to do. He's like, get your own chores, Glenn. And like he walks off. And as he's walking off, though, he goes to turn around and Nora's like son, who I don't think brought up earlier, but he must help around the inn, runs up and he's wearing that Frankenstein mask that got mentioned earlier. And Frank screams, like, it was a very comedic, like, he was like genuinely fearful of it. He's like, I told you to stop doing that. He's like, what is that mask anyways? He's like, you don't know? Like, what are you, stupid? He's like, it's Frankenstein. Like, Frankenstein, huh? And then he goes, why don't you come outside with me and help me chop some wood? And that all kind of goes to the original movie.
And this is, boy, are you stupid, which is like the kind of thing a little kid says to you. You're like, shut up, kid, but your heart is hurt. You're like, if a kid says it, yeah.
He goes, you can hold the wood.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention earlier we were talking about, like, what does Glenn do? They do mention here that he's a newspaper writer in town.
Oh, was mentioned? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so he's like, and they make a joke where they're like, go write another story for your newspaper nobody reads.
Why didn't you bring that up when we questioned it like 20 minutes ago?
Because it was in my notes 2 pages later, I didn't remember. Because I take very detailed notes of these stupid episodes.
Benefit of taking notes. So now Glenn's like, hey, Brian, like, are you ready to study? I'll help you with your history lesson. It's like, no, I already finished history. He's like, oh, then I'll help you with your math. No, you always get me mixed up. Just leave me alone. And he like runs off. And it was just like, that's why, again, between that and the thing with Frank happening like back to back in the scene, I'm like, is this the character? Like, is this the thing that's going to be this character's thing is like no one wants him around? But he's always like offering.
Him being a writer doesn't explain why he's always there. Like, I'm confused why he's hanging out at a hotel. Like,
maybe he's one of those like writers who does like slice of life type stories, and he figures if I hang out at the hotel, I'll meet interesting people.
maybe he just read The Shining and he thinks he'll get inspired.
I'm gonna write 2 stories, 2 big dangly ones.
And then Walt, that real estate guy, walks in and talks to Ted in the other room. He's like, Ted, I got some good news, like real good news. Like, I found a client who's looking for just this kind of place. He's on his way down from Bangor right now. It's like, oh, that's great. I don't want anyone knowing yet, so don't tell anyone, even Nora. And while that's happening, like, Frank opens the door and you can see him like listening in from the doorway, like unnoticed.
Also, this is a scene where you get the real estate guy is a good dude because he's like, no, you said, well, one thing I said is she has to be kept on.
Right.
If you're selling. So he went to bat for her today.
I don't want to say this feels like a will they, won't they, but I feel like it's a does he like her thing. I think that's probably a thing that plays out in the 9 episodes or 8 episodes that didn't air.
We'll never know.
No one will probably ever know. We could ask her. She's still alive. She's still working.
Phone rings. Ted picks it up. And that's when he says Brightwater in. That's what messed me up. He says, hello, Brightwater in. He's like, I guess they're doing a thing where like everyone's just eavesdropping on the phone. I don't like, he's trying to get Glenn off. He's trying to get Nora off. He's trying to get Brian off.
Real Diddy party over there.
I don't like that I made that joke, and that's a joke you made right after it. That makes me feel very weird.
So he's just trying to like, you think about eavesdropping just because there is that fear of a sale. So they're trying to listen to everything they can find out information on.
Oh, 100%.
I think also, too, though, he's an outsider. So they're trying to figure out what his game is in general, right? Like, there's this new guy here. Everything's in limbo. Let's try to figure out what's happening.
They're just all bored because they live in Maine.
Got 2.
You paint with a wide brush here. You shouldn't, okay? If you would come up to Maine this weekend, sir, maybe you would have seen something different. Jay bought camel meat 2 minutes from my house. How fucking dare you?
But I brought steak tips for everyone else, not made out of camel.
That's true. We had steaks, we had burgers, sausages, hot dogs. Jay brought Mountain Dew alcohol that's now going to live in my
Fridge forever, yeah.
fridge forever, yeah.
I almost stole Joe's
Just throw it
reindeer.
out.
You know it's hard for me to throw away alcohol. It's very mentally hard for me to do.
You just make other people drink it when they show up. You go, I got these.
Yeah, but most of my friends aren't like you. They're going to go, oh, God, Mountain Dew alcohol. And you went and said, ooh, Mountain Dew alcohol.
They're gonna go, ew, I'll take the crab juice.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm also someone who buys it on top of the thing I was actually drinking. Try 1 or 2, and then I left the rest at your house.
Yeah, you dickhead left the rest of this shitty alcohol nobody ever
I'm
wants
giving
in
you
my
free
house.
stuff. You're welcome.
I fucking hate you so much right now.
Came from the corner store down the road.
I'm going to spend the money to send like the cooler, like a liver in a cooler. I'm going to send you them all back cold for you.
Anyways, this phone call, I'm assuming, so this was the guy who was interested in buying the house. They're trying to organize a way to like get him over there.
But all these like natural disasters happen where like the road is blocked and the other street is destroyed, and I don't remember the exact details, but every road there
The trees are down. They also give the time frame too, where he's 2 hours north. So you know you have a ticking clock now if he'll be here within 2 hours. So like the episode has to end now pretty much within 2 hours.
Yeah, bridge gets cut in half.
Oh yeah, that was one of them.
Walt's exiting right as Frank's heading back in the room, and he's holding that bag. Frank, that Ted threw out the window earlier. He's like, oh, look what I found. He's like, oh, great, I've been looking for that. I lost it. He's like, you lost it outside of your bedroom window? He's like, I know what you've been up to. And then Ted goes to light another cigar, and that's when you get that Frank freak out with the fire thing. And Ferg, you mentioned it earlier, like, I do like some actual ties to Frankenstein's monster, because like you just don't have much of it in the episode. He's just so like he speaks properly, like he makes like noises at times throughout the episode, but there's just not much to remember while you're watching that. Oh yeah, I forgot this guy's like this old monster.
I just couldn't help though but see Phil Hartman going fire bad. It's like, oh, poor Phil Hartman.
I feel like if you're not going to commit to him having that classic Frankenstein look, like the green and the bolts and the thing, you have to at least have him act like Frankenstein's monster, lean in the other way.
He was asked if he's afraid of fire. He's like, well, wouldn't you be if you were chased by 300 screaming peasants? And that's when I started thinking, like, so is he just like I get what, like, he's not doing the makeup and stuff, but it's just, I don't know, it doesn't add up to me that he was known as Frankenstein's monster and like was chased throughout the town. And yeah, everyone dies off over time, but like not at once, not in chunks. It's not like there was an ice age. So you think like the story would last on? Like, I have a really hard time getting my head around it.
I believe in the lore from the movie. After he survives the fire in the windmill, but he lives under it in like a cave for like many, many years in the Universal Monster universe, at least.
Yeah, and don't forget too, those movies do not take place in Maine, so he gets his ass out of there and goes somewhere else, right? So like, it's not like those people are gone.
Maybe he came over.
I'm also under the impression that these are not like, I don't think the movie's supposed to be like actual canon for the show. They want you to know the history, but not in a way that they're handcuffed by it.
It's weird that it's a world where the movies do exist, but the actual characters do too.
Right.
I don't think they put this much thought into it.
Oh, no.
Oh, for sure. No, again, people didn't make these shows thinking that somehow 40 years later, people would be going analytical on them.
We're assuming because there's all these puzzle pieces that it will make one actual puzzle. But they might just be assorted pieces. As they're having this conversation, the real estate guy, Walt, walks back in the room. He's like, my engine's out. He's like, oh, well, maybe we can help you jumpstart. He's like, no, I mean, it's like, it's gone. It's not in the car anymore. Like, my engine is missing. Which I like these weird things where he's not putting two and two together, but it's so clearly something Frank did.
I do like, too, that Frank is so capable of harm and has, like, this massive strength and everything, too, right? But, like, he doesn't throw the baby in the river. He doesn't kill the real estate agent. He just pranks on him.
Yeah, he's like Herman Munster. He has a heart of gold. You know what would have been a better thing other than the serum curing him from death? Instead, it's what keeps him sane. So the longer he goes without it, it's the more he reverts back to his monstrous form.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think I could forgive him a little more for leaving under that circumstance because he's not going to die.
And have him get progressively crazier.
Yeah, then the show could go on, and they're on that time clock where he's going to snap one day and murder everyone.
In this moment, though, he's doing all these things to prevent this guy from getting over to the inn, right? So he's fucking with the car. He ripped up trees. Like, he's doing all this stuff to make it like near impossible. But he's like tickled by it, and he's like talking about how like, oh, it's just like the old days now between the bridge, trees, telephone poles. Ted's just done with it. He's like, you know what? I'm leaving Frank. I'm not staying. So get this through your head, or whatever head that you have.
Oh, yeah, you should have seen the brain I almost got.
So we cut down to the lab a little bit later, and we see Frank, like, and he's alone, and he's, like, mixing something, and Ted walks down the stairs, and he's like, Frank, he's like, I'm leaving in a couple hours, and I just came to say goodbye. And I'm thinking, why? Like, why would he... He just kept talking, like he's had a hard time leaving this place throughout the entire episode. He's basically been like held hostage. He's trapped. He's fearful of this guy. He knows he's a monster. And then it's like, well, couldn't leave without saying bye, even though every time he's tried leaving rooms, he's like had bad shit happen to him.
It's a misguided attempt to make him seem redeemable.
Also a dickhead move because he's rubbing it in. Like, hey, good luck dying. Like, I'm out of here.
Hey, I know I'll never see you again. Oh, you're never coming back? No, you'll be fucking dead. And I will be with my $400,000 watching the Celtics, blowing Larry Bird.
Ted sees Frank mixing all this stuff together. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, what do you care? And he's like, what if you mixed all this stuff together? Like, it'll kill you. And it's kind of weird. Like, again, you don't know what, like, Frankenstein's might be able to take all kinds of random concoctions, but
This is genuinely sad, though. This man knows he has a ticking clock on his life, and he's going to do things that may kill him because he knows if he doesn't, he is going to die. Like, there's a genuine sadness to this that don't play off that I was, like, kind of bummed out by.
Yeah, I'm going to go up my own way.
sure.
I mean, I appreciate that.
But he tells us, like, even without treatments, he has like another 3 years left. It's like not terrible. You don't have to act so quick.
I don't know. I'd be trying to take every day I could to figure it out, wouldn't you?
Got to try to enjoy those days a little bit if you knew you had a few left.
His days don't seem very enjoyable regularly, though. He's getting struck by lightning multiple times. He has to be the handyman of a weird hotel
He hasn't known the touch of a woman biblically.
in 187 years. 187 is also the code for murder. Do you think that was, like, on purpose?
Probably
No.
not.
Do you think Snoop Dogg saw this and he was like, that's how I fucking write a song?
The big struck by lightning fan.
Snoop Dogg's like, shit, we used to get high and watch Struck by Lightning all the time. I uploaded it on YouTube. Did you guys watch it? We're like, oh, thanks, Snoop.
He's the one that wrote the good reviews on IMDb.
It's him and Martha Stewart. They just get high and watch together.
What a great combination, Snoop and Martha Stewart.
It's an interesting one for sure.
She bakes the cookies, he gets high.
Oh, she gets high too, right? For sure.
And then he fucks the shit out of her.
Okay. I wasn't going in that direction, but shit.
You know that happens.
I mean, you do it at least once. I imagine both of them are like, we do it once, right?
I think we've talked about this before. Have you ever looked up a young Martha Stewart?
Babe.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln.
Listen, she did like a bikini shoot in like Vogue or something, like not too distant.
No, like recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
like within the year. Yeah.
And she didn't look bad.
I mean, I know my thoughts on this are different than the rest of yours, but I was like, hearing the clicking of Nick saving the tab for later.
She's 83. Yeah, I knew she was old. I just didn't think.
Wow, I didn't know she was that old.
Yeah, she's that old. Look up the bikini pic.
She looks good for 83.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really does.
I mean,
For an 83-year-old.
yes, for an 83-year-old for sure. But
Yeah, but in like a world with a bunch of people with no legs, the guy with one leg is going to be a lot faster.
What does that even mean?
You're just saying she's good for an 83-year-old. It doesn't mean I want that 83-year-old.
But if given the opportunity, though, you would say yes.
Oh, I would. I have to say I did it.
Of course, yeah.
Frank's telling Ted how, like, all this is his fault. It's like, you're the last of the Frankensteins. Like, you people created me, and now you're going to kill me. And he's like, you're not my responsibility. He goes, that's the trouble of the world today. Nobody wants to get involved. That got, like, a nice crowd pop. I don't know exactly what was going on politically at the time, but that had to be something.
Gee, 79, we're right before Reagan,
Around Contra?
Iran-Contra?
I love Contra.
Oh, everyone was playing Contra?
Yeah, remember that big crisis, Atari Contra? We had to send Pong in to finish the job.
Go get him, Frogger.
Frank's starting to tell Ted, like, this isn't going to be, the first time the Frankensteins have let me down. He's like, what's that supposed to be? He's like, broken promises. Your great-great-grandfather, that idiot Gustav, I wanted some companionship. He promised me he'd make me a woman. He's like, are you kidding? Did he do it? He's like, of course not. He couldn't make a woman if his life depended on it.
I guess this shows that the movies aren't canon in this world because The Bride of Frankenstein.
We did get a bride,
didn't
yeah.
happen.
She was a babe and she had Marge Simpson hair.
He does say he hasn't been with a woman in like 100 and some odd years. So the Bride of Frankenstein is still there.
I guess it's possible he made her and then it's been 100 years.
I like to think, though, that like on the opposite coast, there's like a California version of this show happening where it's the Bride of Frankenstein who works in a hotel.
What are you doing here?
Why was the voice you did quirky from Life Goes On?
I was doing the Californians, but I was trying to mix in Frankenstein and it just didn't work.
So after he requested the woman get made, he's like, I didn't know you liked women. There's a lot of things you don't know about me. And that's with, do you know I haven't had a date in 187 years? Do you know what that's like? Like, oh, I can imagine. He's like, I try to get along with this world. He's like, be nice to everybody, but people won't let me. They used to throw rocks at me on the street, take their children in when I walked by. It's like, come on, Frank, that was the Dark Ages. You'll be fine. Things are different now. Like, oh, are they? Look at how they show me in the movies, palling around with that Dracula and Wolfman. Well, it's a lie. He's like, well, one time I had dinner with Dracula, and I had a glass of red wine, and he had a glass of the waiter.
That's like a fucking Henny Youngman joke, right? But like, my wife and I went out to dinner with Dracula. It's such a bad fucking joke. But also, I do love that he has great comedic timing where he says it and he kind of does the Mr. Furley, like, it's like the kind of,
Dracula, take my wife, please.
Take my wife, for example.
But we find out that Dracula is actually kind of a jerk.
I just love this statement of Dracula was a jerk. It's such a funny thing to be said in a sitcom.
He's like, and he'll be a jerk until the day he dies, which is never.
That's not true, though. He is dead.
Yeah, he's the living dead or the undead, so he died at one point.
And he's loving it.
It's true.
Oh man, if they had Leslie Nielsen guest stars,
If he popped up. What do you mean I'm a jerk?
79 Leslie Nielsen too was when he was still like just a serious actor. I think Airplane came out in 79, so it's like mainly him just being like a cop in movies.
But he's already been Frank Drummond at this point.
Oh, he has been Frank Drebin at this point, you're right.
Frank starts to tell Ted, you don't know what it's like being one of a kind. Like, there's nobody to talk to, share things with. Like, I'm all alone in the world. He's like, I got ridiculed, persecuted. And then he tells him, I'm the ultimate minority group.
I guess it's true. When there's one of you, yeah. You get to make that claim.
That's like an Archie Bunker joke.
Ted's like trying to like cheer him up a little bit and tell him all these things. He's like, you're intelligent. You got a lot of things going for you. He's like, you're bright. He's like, I could have been a lot brighter. You should have saw the brain I almost got. If it wasn't for that Butterfinger Igor, he hadn't dropped it.
Would it have been Renfield?
Well, it's Igor in Young Frankenstein, though, which is, I think, what they're really trying to crib from here.
It's Igor in Young Frankenstein.
Sorry, it's Igor, yeah. And the brain is from the person named Abby Normal.
But in the Frankenstein novels and... No. The Frankenstein movie, I think it was Renfield.
No, Renfield is Dracula's familiar.
I'm not sure if it was Igor.
Well,
I'll have
regardless,
to go back and check.
Frank's kind of like, I guess he's like about to kill himself. Like, that was the goal, right? He's making this drink. And he says, like, Auf Wiedersehen, and goes to, like, take it back. He gets stopped. He's like, if you stop, I'll stay. And he's like, what? He's like, Ted's like, yeah, I said what I said. I'm staying. He's like, I don't believe it. He's like, goodbye, Celtics. Goodbye, Nancy. Goodbye, Jamie. Hello, craziness.
Again, they're like 6 hours from Boston. It's like, these girls I loved who live next state over, like, you can get them up there. It's not that big of a deal.
Sure, but it's not the same. Like,
And you can also go down.
they're just going to move on.
Also, too, you can get the Celtics in Maine.
Yeah, that's literally the basketball team of this state, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 1979. There's no cable.
Yeah, but over the air.
I feel like the Celtics probably play. I mean, there was no cable anywhere, so you probably got the local affiliate in Bangor played it.
Now they're making, like, the agreements like, all right, fine, I won't drink this, but, like, only if you're going to stay and help me make the serum. Sure. It's like, and what about a woman? Can you make me a woman? It's like, don't push me, Frank. Like, I'm only asking. No harm in asking. Like, you're always doing that.
That's a big ask, though, too. It's like, do me a favor. I need a woman. So you start digging up graves, find me a brain, sew these people together, and then make me this skin suit that I can have sex with. Like, Frank, maybe we work on that later.
Can you play God for me?
Yeah.
He's like, well, he's like, I don't know. He thought since you're, going to stay around and all that stuff, you're going to need some stuff to do. He's like, I'm not making you a woman. He's like, I can't stay that long. He's like, serum's enough. And he's like, you're right. Serum's more than enough. Like, so now, yeah, with this agreeing to stay and work on the serum with him, Frank gives Ted this gigantic hug, which, ends in like the still frame fade out, like kind of episode over.
Oh, but also he goes, maybe I better make you a woman, because they have like the sexy big hug.
Funny if it cut to like the Mrs. Doubtfire scene. Can you make me a woman? I'm so happy.
The sky's a bowl of butter. I did a great impersonation of a hot dog. And this is where we immediately go into the Kool-Aid gravy train and Sex and the Single Parent commercials that I watched all of.
Well, yeah, I just thought this was like such a, like, in general though, like, what a weird ending. I mean, I guess the ending is by name as the story concludes in that now we're getting the sure, I'm going to help you, and we're going to try to figure out the serum. So we kind of know where the rest of the season's going to go. But I just thought that like the overall scene ended on a really weird like note, and it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't click right. It just end where it did.
No, I mean, for an older episode like that, that's how those did. Like, buddy, like, high five, we're going to do it.
Yeah, freeze frame.
Freeze frame, end game.
With a dumb joke, like, I'll get you a woman too.
And yeah, that was it. And then we got into the outro, which had what was definitely an original song. I was trying to look it up. There was like an original song that was made too, which would have worked for the intro way better than the actual intro that was used.
I love the intro.
You Are So Beautiful is the most dour.
That's why I love it. It's so random. It doesn't fit, and it's awesome.
They paid money to license that song. Like, what the fuck was happening with that? It's just an odd decision. I would love to speak to anybody. If we can get Joel Zwick is the one who directed this episode. He's done a million TV shows. He's still doing modern TV shows. He directed My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I feel like he's the guy you could ask to be like, did you have any say? Did anybody have any questions when you were like doing the pilot for this? Whether or not we should use You Are So Beautiful as the intro? You could have used Edgar Winter Group's Frankenstein, like dun 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 dun. That's like a good instrumental sitcom song. Joel Zwick, hit us up.
So yeah, so that's I mean, that was the whole episode. Like I said, I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to bring on along with it. There wasn't much about this episode in existence, so
yeah, we pretty much got everything that's out there and kind of hit every person who's in it.
Yeah, we're kind of leaving it open for, future people.
I don't think this exists, but if anybody has the other 2 episodes that aired or the other 10 that totally made this show, I'd love to see them.
I think it's a miracle we got the one. I don't think anyone's going to have the rest.
These probably aren't even preserved in like the salt mines of whatever studio. Like these are probably just like burnt or fucking thrown away.
But I guess with all that in mind, no need to like drag on too much longer. We'll do the green light or cancel. I will go in the order I physically see you in right now. Joe, starting with you.
Look, I came into this being like, what the fuck are we doing? And I got weirdly won over. It's not a good show, but I did enjoy watching it. I would watch another episode. I think that for as incessantly angry as the main character makes me with all his stupid, I've got to keep mentioning the thing from where I'm from, the rest of the cast works for me. I don't know why I'm saying this, but this is a green light. I fucking enjoyed this, and I can't believe it, but I did enjoy this.
Ferg.
Yeah, this may come as a surprise to you, but I'm with Joe. Green light. I have a soft spot for Frankenstein. I mean, I love the monsters. I know that's Herman Munster, but he's basically Frankenstein. I used to watch the original movie. I even watched the stupid one, for the Mary Shelley Frankenstein movie with De
Niro.
De Niro playing him. I like this. I wish they really leaned more into him being Frankenstein, but they got right the sympathetic character that is Frankenstein. And I thought his moments were the best. And could I stand Ted? No. But I can watch this show hoping bad things happen to Ted via Frankenstein's monster. So, green light for me for Frankenstein monster.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, actually. It's like Joe said, it's not a great show, but it's just, I don't know, it's endearing and entertaining enough that I couldn't in good faith cancel this just because of, how fun it was to watch, really. It's obviously it has its problems, and it's not perfect by any means, and it's not a hard green light, but it is, in fact, a green light for me.
Gordo.
Well, you guys know I like to see all these sitcoms to the end, and I want to see if he can make the serum, because I don't want Frank to die. So with that being said, I would greenlight it. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. Green light.
Well, hate to spoil this one, boys, but
I was so hoping this would be a perfect five.
No, I can't. I can't in good conscience. No. So I'm going to cancel it. I had my issues with the show. I didn't think that the characters were all fleshed out well enough. I mean, I get it's 1979, and I try to we've talked about this with kids shows and other things where it's not it's a very different era. It's made for a different time, but I don't know. I just couldn't. I couldn't flow with it. There was just a lot of things that I didn't like about, all right, he's Frankenstein and he's the real Frankenstein, but nobody knows that, but he still looks kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I know it's funny talking about a Frankenstein story and saying I want more believability, but I did. I don't know. It's something didn't like the way they reinvented kind of the character Frankenstein's monster. I didn't think was like great story wise, which is funny because I do think that the actor Jack Elam is like fantastic, and I thought he was so charming the whole time, and I enjoyed his character, but it shouldn't have been Frankenstein's monster. So it's a cancel for me, but with all that in mind, it's still 4 out of 5. So congratulations to Struck by Lightning. You do live on to see an episode 2 with us. I want to thank all of you guys for listening this week and every week, and continue listening to our Spooky Dookie, unofficially named Spooky Dookie October. And, hit us up on our socials. www.s1e1pod.com is where you can find all the links to everywhere you can listen to us, our merch page, all this stuff. If you have any great ideas, you want to shoot them our way, go ahead and do so. We like talking to you guys. So come back next week for week 4 of the unofficially named Spooky Dookie month, and we'll see you then. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best gravy train, and the recipe's delicious. It's so full of gravy.